Channel 2, WBBM TV, Chicago. Bill Curtis, Walter Jacobson, John Coughlin, and Johnny Morris with Chicago's #1 news. Channel 2, the 10 o'clock news.
We are finally free, and we can be truly proud of the unprecedented way we achieved our freedom, with courage and with determination, and most important, in peace.
Good evening. Cory Aquino speaks for the first time with the voice of her people, and a new era has begun in the Philippine Islands.
While the deposed former President Ferdinand Marcos languishes tonight on the U.S.-controlled Pacific island of Guam, uncertain whether he will ever return to his country or even where he will go next. The man who made his enemies tremble for 20 years of iron-fisted rule slip out of the Manila darkness in a U.S. plane, sick, frightened, and all but alone. The American government quickly recognized his successor.
The United States extends recognition to this new government, headed by President Aquino.
In the meantime, the White House was releasing details of the pathetic final hours of Marcos' reign. His desperate last-minute phone call to President Reagan's friend, Senator Paul Laxalt of Nevada. Marcos telling Laxalt that he feared his palace would be stormed, that he did not want to come to the United States, but wanted to stay in his own country, that he was even willing to share power with Mrs. Aquino.
I sensed that he was a desperate man, clutching at straws, trying to work out something that would keep him somewhere in the power structure.
No sooner was Marcos gone than jubilant crowds stormed the presidential palace, looting, destroying, tearing down the image of Marcos and replacing it with that of Aquino. Leaders of the infant regime boasted that the revolution was peaceful, but there was bloodshed this day in Manila. Dozens injured, at least one dead. There were fires and rock throwing and ugly scenes in the streets, suggesting that the first challenge the new regime will face is controlling its own. As for Marcos, he will begin treatment tomorrow for a kidney disorder. He has not said where his final destination will be. The United States has offered him safe haven.
There was also a reaction to the Marcos departure in Chicago among the Filipino community here. John Davis has that part of the story.
Marcos is out! The anti-Marcos sentiment ran strong in Chicago today, just as strong as the rejoicing for the woman who toppled him, Corazon Aquino.
The Philippines is now back to democracy, not dictated by one person, so this should be a merry jubilee for the Filipino people.
It was a day of celebration throughout Chicago's Filipino community, a day for which many had waited years.
I was really glad that it happened that quick because I don't want to see any more bloodshed going on out there.
I'm jubilant, happy, really happy and relieved.
At the Philippine consulate, the jubilation continued. Some Aquino supporters traveled from as far away as St. Louis for the celebration.
Although we face numerous problems ahead, I think at this point in time there is nothing that we should do but to be jubilant.
Consulate employees spent much of the day huddled around a radio for updates on the situation in Manila, while Consul General Espinas was confident of a smooth transition.
Oh yes, at this point I do not see any difficulty anymore.
But tonight the sounds of rejoicing have all but died away. Tomorrow, that rejoicing will be replaced by the reality of what lies ahead for the new Philippine government and for those who work for that government here in Chicago. John Davis, Channel 2 News.
Dan Rather will have a special half-hour report on the Philippines right after this newscast.
For the first time today, engineers who worked on the shuttle Challenger testified publicly about just how strongly they opposed a launch in cold weather. The President's investigating commission heard an earful from Morton Thiokol engineers who built those booster rockets. They said their warnings were loud and clear.
I made the direct statement that if anything happened to this launch, told them I sure wouldn't want to be the person that had to stand in front of a board of inquiry to explain why I launched this outside of the qualification of the solid rocket motor or any shuttle system.
An expert on the suspect O-rings, who reported a year earlier that a catastrophe of the highest order was possible, said engineering opposition to the launch was unanimous.
There was never one positive pro-launch statement ever made by anybody.
The engineers said their protests were overruled by both company and NASA managers. And late today, investigators revealed the existence of a separate launch protest from Rockwell International. They're the maker of the orbiter.
A former Chicago alderman is charged tonight with allegedly propositioning a 13-year-old girl at a school where he taught under an assumed name. The case is the latest bizarre twist in the checkered background of Fred Hubbard, who was a promising alderman back in 1971. He fled the city after embezzling $110,000 from a federal jobs program. He later served time in prison. His arrest yesterday ripped the mask off his other identity, that of Andrew Thomas. The real Andrew Thomas was a respected Chicago doctor who died last May. Hubbard admits assuming the name of his college friend, Andrew Thomas, to get the substitute teaching job. Thomas's widow is deeply hurt.
I mean, if he was alive to defend himself, that's one thing. But to take advantage of a dead man, I'm not sure that I know the term that I would use to describe that.
Chicago public school officials tonight are looking into how the former Alderman Hubbard was able to use a dead man's name and his credentials to get a job.
There's another arrest to report tonight of a man who is something of a folk hero on the South Side. Willie Fluky Stokes has a charitable reputation, but police say he's a notorious drug dealer, and tonight he's charged with murder. With a Channel 2 News escort, Stokes turned himself in today after being on the run for 2 weeks. Jim Avila has exclusive details.
Willie Fluky Stokes is a South Side legend in his own mind and in his own neighborhood. This is the man who spent $200,000 on an anniversary party for his wife and gave away $100 bills as door prizes. He's the man who buried his son in a $10,000 customized Cadillac casket.
He's known around the world, you know. He known he buried his son in a gold Cadillac or something, you know. Got money and stuff, got a nice little townhouse. Driving nice little cars and stuff. People got nice little cars. He cool.
But police say Fluky Stokes is a cool-as-ice drug kingpin who has built his reputation and personal fortune selling heroin. Today, with the Channel 2 News escort, attorney Kevin Bolger surrendered Stokes to Cook County Sheriff's deputies to answer charges he hired an assassin to kill another alleged drug dealer.
When I go to court, I'm going to prove that I'm innocent. Because I don't know this guy that got killed. I never been in a store, and I hope that his family will believe this, because I had my own son killed. I know how they feel.
Despite his arrest, Fluky's reputation flourishes on Drexel Boulevard, where he is known as a Southside Robin Hood.
He's just a nice guy. He hasn't did any, you know, he's always helpful. He helps everybody.
Stokes claims police call him a drug dealer and now a murderer because a black man with money riles them.
I don't even know what drugs look like. I never used them or deal them. I don't even drink.
Fluky Stokes claims to have made his money at the dice table, a professional gambler. Tonight, if there's a dice game with Fluky Stokes in it, it's in the county jail, where he awaits the first hearing on the murder for hire charge, March 4th. Little Walter.
Still ahead tonight on Channel 2 News at 10 o'clock. Some bad weather moving into this area. It could mean as much as 3 more inches of snow by the morning.
Also, I'll have part 1 of a special report on cocaine tonight. A look at why the flow of it into Chicago is higher than ever.
Melting pot of old and new, a place to let your dreams come true. Chicago, city lights, summer nights, taxis, toots, 3-piece suits. Chicago, pork bellies, Polish delis, small fries in autumn skies, summer dress and winter's best, hearts and flowers, soaring towers. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We wear your name with pride. We're building side by side.
We're the bank that puts you first, Chicago.
We put you first, Chicago. We're the first Chicago's bank.
Attention car and truck buyers. Don't buy anything until you see this. Mazda has what you want. 323, our economical state-of-the-art small car. The world-class 626, a perfect family car. And special factory cash allowances mean you can save hundreds on B2000's already low price. Okay, now you're ready to make a very smart buying decision. Get a great deal at your Chicagoland Mazda dealer today.
You know, more people trust Midas for the values they get in mufflers, shocks, and brakes. The value of a free inspection, the value of a written estimate, and best of all, the value of a good deal, like this.
Now get 25% off the famous Midas muffler, the muffler engineered to your car's specifications. 25% off now through March 31st at all participating Midas shops. While you're there, ask about our free brake inspections.
Chicago police are searching tonight for the killer of an elderly South Side man. Late this afternoon, the wife of Howard Brown discovered her husband's body in the closet of their third-floor apartment. His hands and feet were bound with plastic bags. He had a bullet wound in his head. Detectives say Brown was gunned down during a home invasion. Police are still trying to find out how much was stolen by the robbers. Authorities tonight have no leads.
Chicago police are holding 21 people in custody tonight following a drug raid that netted authorities cocaine, cash, and weapons. Police report that one of those arrested in the raid is alleged drug kingpin I.L. Moore. Authorities confiscated 3 ounces of cocaine. They say it was worth more than $26,000 because of its high purity. Many of the suspects arrested late today had been nabbed by police only weeks ago for possession of 2 pounds of cocaine and stolen goods.
The abuse of cocaine has earned its share of headlines, but it is too early to call it old news. Its use has reached epidemic proportions. Its addiction is being called worse than heroin, and it kills. In Cook County, the medical examiner reports the number of cocaine-related deaths has jumped 400% in the last 3 years to 142 cases in 1985. Alarming statistics that add up to a growing cost of cocaine use. It's the subject of our special report tonight. Despite all the warnings about cocaine and all the money spent trying to stop its flow into the United States, cocaine is easier to get now than ever before. One reason can be found here, 13,000 feet in the Peruvian Andes. Documentary with Field Museum botanist Dr. Michael Dillon. We were shooting in a potato field when I noticed that every one of the Peruvians had a wad of coca leaves in their cheek. Now there's the face of the Andes right there, and that's the face of a coca chewer right there. They laughed when I mentioned it, and then happily showed us the leaves they carry, mixed with a piece of limestone to take the alkaloids out. It gives them a mild numbing effect, but it is a staple of their lives.
It really is impossible to remove this particular plant from their culture. It's really a mainstay. It goes back into Inca times. You did not have an audience with the Inca unless you had coca leaves within your mouth.
We are entertained by the stories of cocaine, but the weekly television victories of narcotics agents hide the truth. 76 metric tons of cocaine were consumed nationally in 1984. Police estimate that if the cocaine supply were cut off right now, stockpiles in Miami would still hold a 5-year supply for the rest of the country. Customs officers have had some success in curbing the flow of cocaine into this country by using specially equipped aircraft to detect smugglers.
Okay, that guy was going about 350 and 12 to 14 knots.
And this videotape of a Coast Guard cutter engaged in a high-seas chase shows just how far we're prepared to go in our war on drugs.
You have chosen not to stop your vessel. At this time, I am warning you that I am commencing to fire on your vessel.
All right. Get hit.
But even actions like this haven't stopped the flow. By the time cocaine gets to Chicago, there is hardly a neighborhood it doesn't reach. For half a dozen square blocks around 58th and Michigan on the south side, cocaine is currency. It's sold on the street corner or from bag houses, either abandoned buildings or occupied apartments, which have been barricaded to slow down the police. This one is still in business. There could be somebody still there. You have double locks, the way they can look out. The lock comes out here, and you have small, probably gram units of cocaine that are passed out, and the money slides back in. And the difficulty is in identifying who is selling the dope. Small amounts are sold because anything over 30 grams of cocaine carries a Class X penalty of 6 years in prison. Experience and knowing the law are the drug dealer's best friend. Cocaine is not restricted to the South Side. It is used in the suburbs, on Rush Street. It has even found its way into our children's schools. But that is just the sordid tip of the real story of the lives being torn apart.
I feel that I lost 2 years of my life in my drug addiction. I lost a job, I lost credit, I lost friends. I'm lucky enough to still have my family, but I lost a lot.
Tomorrow night at 10, we'll show you the human cost of cocaine.
John Coughlin says we're in for a very messy rush hour tomorrow. He'll be along with the weather in just a minute.
We didn't get to be the fastest growing copier company. Say cheese. By making cameras. Mita, all we make are great copiers.
How did I get to Hong Kong? The civilized way. Swiss Air.
Swiss Air from Chicago, the civilized way to the world.
Spectacular mall-wide sale at 5 centers, 9:30 to 5:30 this Saturday at Fox Valley Center, Louis Joliet Mall, Orland Square, River Oaks Center, and Stratford Square.
We've got the shape you want to be in.
The shape you're ready for is ready for you. The all-new 1986 Mercury Sable. Strikingly sophisticated, with the ride and handling of a fine European road car. Designed to change the way you think about the American automobile. Sable Sedan, Sable Wagon. Ready and waiting for you now at your Lincoln Mercury dealer. Sable from Mercury.
We've got the shape you want to be.
Tomorrow at 5.
Did you take as good care of the others?
Movie critic Gene Sisco reviews one of Hollywood's most sexually controversial films. Tomorrow on the Channel 2 News at 5.
Target Calumet City grand opening. The building team hurries to meet the deadline. All major carpet mills participate with big grand opening specials. The store is open, the sale is on, the carpets are low priced, the padding's free, and you get 6-month credit free. Philadelphia Plush, $588. Salem High-Low, $493. Horizon Sculpture, $488. Thousands of rolls grand opening priced and paddings free with any carpet. Our biggest grand opening sale is happening now at all our Chicagoland stores, but it ends this Wednesday, so hurry to New York Carpet World.
Books cost too much, so I opened Crown Books. Now you'll never have to pay full price again. Every day, every New York Times bestseller hardback, fiction and nonfiction, is 40% off. Every day, every bestseller paperback is 25% off. Every day, every new hardback book is 20 to 50% off. And we have 10,000 books to choose from. Crown's one place you can't judge a book by its cover, price. So remember, if you paid full price, you didn't buy it at Crown Books.
If you just finished watching the Grammy Awards, here's a quick review. You saw an aging rock star dance off with the biggest individual awards. Phil Collins picked up 3 honors, including Album of the Year. One of the evening's most emotional moments came when newcomer Whitney Houston accepted the Best Female Pop Vocal Grammy from her cousin, Dionne Warwick. The other big winner was the all-star cast of the record We Are the World. The song raised millions of dollars for people starving in Africa. Chicagoans also walked off with an award. Sir George Schulte and the incomparable Chicago Symphony Orchestra won the top honor for best recording of an opera, maintaining their record in the number of Grammys received.
How about upsetting your record of continual snowfall, please?
I wish I could say we aren't going to get any, but we're already getting some snow around the Chicago area right now. And tomorrow morning's rush hour, as you indicated, could be a little on the slow side. So when you head for the typing pool, start a little bit earlier. These are the current temperatures in Chicago. It's 29 right now at O'Hare, 29 at the lakefront, 30 at Midway. The high today was 37 after a low of 17. And the humidity up at 75%, southwest winds at 10. And the barometer is falling, always an ominous sign. Weather map right now shows this frontal system out here to the west of us and low pressure up here in the northern plains. This will be moving down in this direction during the next 24 to 48 hours, and as it does so, we'll have cloudy skies and the chance of not only snow, but maybe some freezing rain and maybe some sleet. And that'll be diminishing to probably just to some flurries by late tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow night. Here are the temperatures around the country. Indio, California wins the top honors today. 96 degrees. It was 89 in Tucson, 77 in San Francisco, 75 in Miami, 34 in Washington, D.C., and 21 degrees up in Beantown, Boston. Here's where the precipitation is right now. This is our local radar, and you can see some snow already falling down here in Cook County. More of it out here to the west. This is moving in an easterly direction right now at about 10 to 15 miles an hour. So be on the lookout. We could get maybe 2 to as much as 4 inches by this time tomorrow night of snow. And here's the weather map for tomorrow. You can see that low pressure system, which has moved down from north of the Dakotas, moving into Chicago. So it looks like kind of a messy day all around tomorrow. And here's the temperatures right now. 29 in Wilmette, 30 at Cicero and Joliet, and 29 over in Lansing. The forecast for the rest of the night, cloudy, snow with a little sleet or freezing rain mixed in, upper 20s or low 30s for a low. Tomorrow, snow maybe 2 to 4 inches by the time it ends tomorrow afternoon, possibly mixed with some sleet or freezing rain. High will be about 34 degrees. Thursday, cloudy, a chance of some light flurries, nothing much on Thursday, 32 for a high. Friday and Saturday, we should have considerable sunshine in the Chicago area. And then on Sunday, we could possibly wind up with a little more snow. And that's the situation right now. Bill?
Thank you, John. A judge in Wisconsin is freezing the bank accounts of Clarence McLean, the former advisor to Mayor Washington. The judge is also allowing the Cook County State's Attorney's Office to sue McLean for back taxes in the Milwaukee court. They say McLean owes over $113,000 in taxes and penalties. And meanwhile, McLean is still being investigated by the FBI, which is gathering evidence to confirm reports that McLean has been the man to see to get a contract from the city of Chicago. The whole matter of city contracts is being investigated by the FBI and is the subject of Walter's perspective tonight.
The Clarence McLean connection is not the only curious thing about the contracts of the city of Chicago. There are contracts being signed in City Hall right now that are so curious they are hard to believe. The ones on the city's abandoned automobiles, for example. Huge contracts to remove the autos from the streets, hundreds of thousands of autos, and to stack them in piles and to turn them into scrap. The contracts provide about $200,000 a year for the company that collects those autos, and about $400,000 a year for the city. Good for the company and good for the city. $400,000 a year into the city treasury, that's very good for the city. That's the way it was year after year after year until 1981, when the contracts expired, and the city decided to find a different company to collect the automobiles. It considered some different bids. We, says a bid, can increase what's provided to the city from $400,000 a year to $60 million a year. That was a bid from the Illinois Scrap Processing Company on the south side of Chicago in the 10th Ward. Give us the contract for the abandoned autos, said that bid, and we can provide the city up to $60 million a year. Illinois Scrap had a pretty good idea, and a good friend as well, the alderman of the 10th Ward, Ed Verdoliak. Illinois Scrap was a contributor at the time to Verdoliak's politics, $12,000 that year to Verdoliak, and a $25,000 contribution to the mayor at the time, Jane Byrne. Now, needless to say, Illinois Scrap got that contract, and it picked up the autos for 5 years, from 1981 to 1986. As for the $60 million that Illinois Scrap said it could provide the city, well, in the past 5 years of picking up autos, Illinois Scrap actually has provided the city $0, not a one. The owners of Illinois Scrap, friends of Verdoliak and friends of Byrne, are being investigated by the state's attorney, and in fact, one of them has been arrested on suspicions of fraud. They also are being sued by the city, which says that Illinois Scrap not only has provided the city with $0 in 5 years, but owes the city $18 million. The case is in court. The contract with Illinois Scrap has expired, recently expired, and so the city recently had to sign a new contract for its abandoned auto program, which is now $18 million in the hole. The city has had to get moving on its program. It's been taken to the cleaners, it says, by Illinois Scrap, and there is some catching up to do. So the new contract has been awarded, a very big contract to Illinois Scrap. It is, as they say in City Hall, nice to have friends.
I've got sunshine
on a cloudy day. When it's cold outside, I've got the month of May. I guess you'd say, what can make me feel this way? Midway, Midway, talking about Midway, Midway.
Michael, it's time for your medicine.
The registered pharmacists at Kmart fill over 20 million prescriptions each year.
It isn't going to taste sticky, is it?
Professionals using brand name pharmaceuticals or generic equivalents were allowed.
Okay, I'm ready.
That's quality you can trust at a Kmart price.
Now, that wasn't so bad, was it?
Not bad for medicine.
You can't do bad thing, Kmart.
You know, Volkswagen is the #1 selling import in Japan. Also, Volkswagen is the #1 European import in the U.S. For a short time, your Volkswagen dealer is making #1 deals on your Jettas, Golfs, or GTIs when you trade in any Japanese car. Those Volkswagen dealers give you a very good feeling.
1 year free interest on a new GTI from your Chicagoland Volkswagen dealer. Immediate delivery from a great selection before February 28th.
Wednesdays at Brown's, you get something new with your chicken.
A choice.
Choose potatoes in a salad, potatoes that are fried.
French fries.
Crispy corn fritters, hot apple pie.
Mom loves fritters.
French fried mushrooms, onion rings too.
Mushrooms for me.
The choice is up to you.
Get 10 pieces of chicken and your choice of 3 big side orders for $7.99. Serves up to 5 for $1.60 each. The Wednesday special at Brown's.
At Brown's Chicken, it tastes better.
Bad news for DePaul tonight.
Very bad. Good news for Notre Dame, Walter. The Blue Demons' slim chances to make the NCAA playoffs were really hurt tonight. They lost to Notre Dame at South Bend, 70-59, so the Demons are now 15-11 for the year. DePaul did get off to an early lead. Super steal by Rodney Strickland, who went the length of the court. DePaul led 13-8 at one point, but Notre Dame came on strong late in the first half. Kevin Holmes saves, but for the wrong team. David Rivers with a great play to Mark Stevenson. Uncontested for the Jammer, 37-30 Notre Dame at the half. DePaul did pull to within 3 in the second half. Dallas Comagese with a tip stuff for 2 of his 15, 46-43 Irish. However, David Rivers triggered another Notre Dame surge, an unbelievable off-balance flipper for 2 of his 14, 56-45 Notre Dame, and Digger Phelps' team won handily 70-59. Meanwhile, the Bulls lost again, 122-108 76ers, 42 points for Moses Malone. Yes, Moses was a dominant force inside because of Bulls' injuries. Nobody could stop the big guy. 3-point play. The 76ers led by as many as 19 in the first half. But 31 points from Charles Oakley helped the Bulls fight back to within 4 at the half. A career-high 31. But the 76ers blew it back open in the second half. Watch the round mound of rebounds. Charles Barkley down the court, pass to Bobby Jones. Philadelphia wins it 122-108. In other games, Milwaukee, that's 9 in a row. The Celtics over New York 91-74, Indiana 100, Washington 87. On the somber side, New Jersey net guard Mark-Louis Richardson has been banned from the NBA for 2 years. Richardson was suspended because for the 3rd time he has tested positive for cocaine use. Under NBA rules, that brings about a suspension for 2 years. Apparently, Richardson can't conquer his problem.
If Michael Ray Richardson's tragic inability to do this and the publicity surrounding it can add anything constructive to this country's unfortunate experience with drug abuse, it is the message to those who might experiment with drugs that their addictive lure is so great that even the potential loss of career, status, and money may not provide the strength to prevail.
On the happier side in volleyball, what a match tonight at DePaul. The United States beat Cuba 3-2. Cuba serves here as the United States takes a 4-2 lead in this traveling series around the country. As you know, the United States won the Olympic gold, but Cuba was one of the countries boycotting the '84 Olympics. So this is a real big series. It was tied 2 games each tonight, but the United States won the 5th and deciding game 15-13 after trailing 13-10. The USA wins it. In baseball, most of the Sox are now in camp for tomorrow's first official day of spring training. Yes, things are popping at Payne Park in Sarasota for the early birds. Ron Kittle is revved up for the new year, right, Ron?
I forgot to holler, dude. Hi, Mom, Lori, Dad.
dog?
Get right in here. He'll sign your ball for you.
My dog watches TV. His name is Dinger.
Get up there. He'll sign your ball.
Okay, Ron Kittle. This, of course, is Tom Seaver, who still wishes to be traded east, but he's a winner just about wherever he goes. Rich Dotson seems to be coming along fine after major surgery on his arm during the off-season. The Sox are going to work harder this season, says new general manager Hawk Harrelson. Here he is with his new set of coaches. He talks about what his role is going to be in spring training.
I look at myself as just a member of this organization right now that is a bit of a coordinator. There's no question about that. But now that that it's coordinated and these people are in place, the biggest decision I got to make is just how blonde I'm gonna let my hair get.
Okay, Hawk Harrelson always has a good thing to say. Okay, let me tell you that Calgary beat the Blues tonight 4-1, so the Hawks maintain their 6-point edge for first place. Richard Dent, negotiations with the Bears made very little progress today. They want $720,000 a year. The Bears are offering $600,000 per year.
Care to offer an opinion on that?
Well, he made $99,000. He's going up to $600,000, which would put him in the top 3 or 4 defensive linemen in the league. It's a question of starting from that low base. Sometimes it's hard to make that big jump. I think it's a pretty good offer myself, from $90,000 to $600,000.
You'd take it.
I'd take it, boy. I'd take it and run.
Well, what'd you make your last year in the Bears? 35?
35. You're not supposed to tell it. That was what I made my last year. I won't tell you what I made my first year.
That was lifetime earnings, I think. Those were back in the old days when those...
My first year was $6,000.
$6,000?
Yeah. And I started from a low base.
We have no school for Gary tomorrow, and part 2 of cocaine, the human cost. Have a nice evening. And it's snowing about 3 inches by morning. Good night. Good night.
Q101 wants you to go as Murph puts on his show from the Hyatt Beach. Watch that comments be a tail watcher.
40 Q101 listeners will all join Murphy and his morning crew
Watching tails go by
on Eastern Airlines as they earn their wings every day to the luxurious tropical resort of Hyatt Dorado Beach.
Be a tail watcher. Win your trip now.
The marble columns could have come from the baths of Caracalla outside Rome. The art on the walls could have come from the Museum of Modern Art in New York. And the chef could have come from the Brasserie Gisons in Lyon. But a 5-year performance record that looks like this could only have come from one business bank in Chicago, the Exchange National Bank.
We're not bragging about the score, but compared to Republic, United, and American, only Northwest Orient gives you business centers throughout the USA, Europe, and the Orient. Only Northwest Orient gives you cushy, wide-cabin aircraft on nearly 40% of its fleet. And only Northwest Orient gives you by far the best free travel program. No, we're not bragging. We just want you to know the score. People who know the score on business travel go Northwest Orient.
First there was Bean, Blass, and Blacker. Then Calvin, Ellis, and Lauren. Today it's Tommy Hilfiger. Style marches on.
International intrigue tomorrow at 4 on Heart to Heart.